Hey guys, it's Fanged Pipsqueak Reads, and I finally finished one book, and I'm here with a review, and it's The Worm and His Kings by Hailey Piper. It's published by Off Limits Press, which is a really small indie boutique press that focuses on horror fiction, and they've been releasing really good books lately, and I can't really wait to see what else they have. And I came upon Hailey Piper when I was listening to the audiobook The Possession of Natalie Glasgow, which was narrated by the great Gemma Amor, and it was really good, and I just realized that I needed to read more by Hailey Piper. So when I saw the hype that was all around The Worm and His King, I just really had to go get it. And so I sat down, as I mentioned in my TBR list, that it's not that long. It's about 114 pages, not words, like I said last time. But I have a life, and I couldn't really go and finish it all in one sitting. And I've become a little bit of a slow reader for some reason. I don't know why, but I managed to finish it, and I have my review, and I really liked it. But the thing is, I haven't really been, approached by or read a lot of cosmic horror lately. I think I've only read about, a few stories by H.P. Lovecraft, and I know that's not enough, but it's just something that I have to really introduce myself a little bit more, and I think The Worm and His King was a really great introduction to cosmic horror, in my opinion. It's subtle, but it still speaks wonders about it, and it's still, it wraps around your head and squeezes your mind, and you get a little bit disoriented after reading it, but once you sit down and take it all in, you realize how good this book is. It's really good. And I just love how Hailey writes the tension, the description of both how Monique, the main character, travels underground New York City, and just how she describes it as this whole other world that you're not really accustomed to. As I usually do with all my reviews, I want to read just a little small passage from Hailey's book. I mean, she did a fantastic reading that I put up just before this review. And she did a really good reading of that. She's probably much better than I am at reading this, but I just wanted to point out one passage here that really, I think, describes Hailey's writing style. So it goes like this. A Monique-shaped drop of blood now corrupted its perfect oceans of star. No longer wretched purity, it grew beautifully tainted by mortal body and soul. The last fungal star vanished from the wall. There was no stone behind it, only freezing blackness that punched into the throne room. It had expected purity. Instead, it flowed through the throne around Monique into what should have been an empty place, but was now her place. She was flesh and bone becoming the stars. She was a constellation that had pretended it was flesh and bone. Already she couldn't tell which came first. Maybe the difference was a matter of perspective. Starlight hadn't meant to journey here, but since when did their intent matter? No one ever asked the stars what they wanted. It's kind of like a mixture of philosophy and dread and beautiful writing put into one. And I just really loved that kind of prose. I'm now getting more into this kind of beautiful prose writing, not only from Hailey but also from Eric LaRocca, and it just really, it both beautifies horror and just makes it really, you start to appreciate it more. Something that I'm not really much into. I can't really write that much beautiful prose, that's for sure. But it makes me appreciate it more. So I was really, it really like made me happy when I was reading Hailey's book. So I also really what I liked about The Worm's King was how Hailey managed to connect the concept and the aspect of wormholes into the subterranean culture that is down below New York City. It's like how she read it all. Like she went in, Monique ventures into this really big gray building that really looks ominous, and you don't see a lot of people going in. Yet she manages to slip inside, and just from there, it's just tunnels upon tunnels going deeper and deeper underground, and it kind of feels like they're going through a wormhole because you don't know what to expect, what happens at the end of it. And I just really loved the character Monique. She had this tenacity, this will of never giving up, because she was searching for her lover, Donna, and her love is so pure, and it just bounces off the pages every single time. Like the only reason she's putting her life on the line is to get Donna back, because Donna was taken by these kings, and the cult that revolves around the kings and the worm. And I don't know, it felt so pure, and she was so down on her luck, and I just really wanted to go and grab and hug her, because she needed a hug. She didn't even, I don't even think she didn't even get a hug from Donna. It's just it made me so angry. And I love also how Hailey managed to put like queerness into this cosmic horror novella. I mean, it's not like in your face, because it shouldn't have to be like that. But you can still find how you can find the queerness in how Monique is portrayed, how she feels insecurity within her own body, because she doesn't feel like the body she was born with was not what she was supposed to be, and she had to go through surgery in order to fix that, but the surgery was horrible because the doctor was a fucking asshole. And you can really just feel that, and you can also see the struggle she goes along with that throughout the story. Like she is still kind of like dealing with the scars from that surgery, and she's still dealing with the fact that she's still coming into terms that she is a woman, and she has a woman that loves her for who she is. But then something else is revealed further in the story. I'm not going to tell what happens, and you just get so angry that it didn't work out. And I also really appreciated that Hailey mentioned the homelessness in New York City. I feel like it's like here in Iceland is a little bit hidden here, the homelessness, but not really to the extent of like what's happening in Japan. That's a whole other video that I'll do about. Maybe it's what I wrote for my BA thesis. But I'm glad that she mentioned it, and she brought into light the different circumstances that people go into being homeless. And in this, it was just a really kind of like a natural occurrence that happened to Monique and Donna, and I'm just glad she managed to bring it up to light, because people they tend to sweep it under the rug. And it immediately just brought me to the documentary that I was just watching about Elisa Lam, and how they managed to bring into the documentary the situation of Skid Row in LA, which was something that I had never known about. It feels kind of showing how sheltered I am here in Iceland. But anyway, I'm glad that I managed to learn a little bit about that, and I'm glad also that Hailey puts this in her book, because it made me think, and it made me sympathize with the others a lot more, even though they were just characters that that you didn't they were kind of like throwaway characters. You still sympathized with them. And lastly, Hailey really nailed the cult atmosphere in this, like with how the cult works. They're all, and it's kind of like what you similar see in most cults, like they're wearing their own clothes, like their own uniforms per se. They're not really like mingling with other people from above, and they have this weird song that they sing to praise the worm, and also to, in their word, pierce the universe, which was like horrifying. And this song was also so strong, and so like the vibrations that came around it was so strong that it, spoiler alert, actually disintegrated a whole woman. And like that scene alone, that was horrifying. It was not the scene where these creatures that are lurking down underneath, that are like have these kind of like steel talons, like look like, I had the feeling like they were like Big Birds, like Big Bird from the Muppets or from the Sesame Street, just gone completely creepy and just disgusting, and just like, nope, don't want to see you in an alley. That scene, just the disintegration, how she managed to describe the unity of the cult, just singing till this woman just kind of just disappeared, and they had no remorse at all. They just thought they were doing the worm's works. And yeah, cults are horrifying. They're still amazingly fascinating, because here again, I'm here in sheltered Iceland. It doesn't really happen that often here, but just reading about cults is just something that I get really excited about, and it's really fascinating. So I'm happy that Hailey managed to nail the cult atmosphere, and how their mechanics works and everything. But she also brought a new element into this cult, and that was the Grey Maiden, which was this, like I described, a big bird like creature, or like, but still like looking like a female. And she was just prowling the streets of New York City, grabbing women, homeless women, and dragging them down to their subterranean cult. And she has this kind of, she couldn't speak, but every time she wanted to speak something, it was always like this kind of, oh, that isn't both creepy and just horrifying. I don't know why. I don't know what. It's just, I can't wait to have this like in audiobook, because I really want to hear how the narrator is gonna portray the Grey Maiden, because she was creepy. But I also, in the end, like how, like with Hailey, how she managed to do it is just awesome. She also managed to make me sympathize with the Grey Maiden. It's like, whenever you manage to sympathize with the villain, I think you've done a pretty good job. So I like, really good job. Good job, Hailey. It was good. So even though it's not like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not that accustomed to cosmic horror, but like I said, if you're not like me, if you're completely new when it comes to cosmic horror, I think The Worm and His Kings would be a really good introduction to it. I mean, it's short, and it's not like that mind-blowing that you are just like sitting there like, I couldn't understand a shit what was happening. But with her, she managed to like delve into it, but at the same time you managed to understand the purpose. So it wasn't just like all over the thing, and it just wasn't completely about dread like with the Cthulhu mythos, and everyone, no one actually got that insane if you don't, if you exclude the cult members, of course. But yeah, I think it was a really good introduction to cosmic horror, at least in my case. So I'm looking forward to maybe reading a little bit more about cosmic horror in the future. But I'm definitely gonna read more stories by Hailey Piper. I mean, she managed to do great stories. So if you haven't read either The Worm and His King or, for example, The Possession of Natalie Glasgow, I highly recommend that you go check it out. And I would definitely give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. Because, you know, it made me happy that it was such a great introduction to cosmic horror. So go grab yourself a copy of The Worm and His King, read it, and then tell me what you think of it. And then you can. I have a link down below that you can see where you can buy the book. And I think Off Limits Press, if you go to their website, I think Off Limits Press has like a sale on The Worm and His King right now. I think 10% sale. So you should definitely jump on that and go grab a copy. So before I go, I want to do a little bit of, I haven't forgotten my pop quiz questions, even though I've forgotten about it in the last 2 ones. So it's not really connected to cosmic horror because, as I said, I'm not that much accustomed to it. But this might be an easy one, but whatever. In the next review or in the next video, I'll definitely put a lot more work into the pub quiz question. But what family member would Russians call babushka? So that's the pub quiz question of the day, and you should definitely go and read The Worm and His King by Hailey Piper. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day today. So I'll see you next time. Bye!